when the fire of the heart, the fire of the self is blazing and creating a magnetic pull into yourself that is so wildly alive. There is nothing else that can be done but to turn inward. If the house is on fire, you have to leave, right? So if the story of me is what seems to be pulling the attention, it is to just turn towards the fire, turn towards the eternal fire of the heart that is blazing alive and calling you into what is true, unfathomable, makes no sense in any way to the mind. There is no map, there is no path, there is no way of understanding what is being asked. And yet there is this fire inside that is without question, that is pulling you and calling you into yourself. The mind tries to hold the attention in something that it knows, something stable, that it considers stable, safe, secure. The known world of the mind. But the fire of the heart is calling you to leave behind the false safety of the play of the world, of the story of my life, and just be magnetized, be pulled into the fire, be pulled into your longing without knowing where it will carry you, what it means, how to get there. Because this is not a journey that we take step by step. It is a spontaneous falling into. It is a spontaneous falling into the timeless being that you are. A spontaneous falling into this moment. It is to be here now. Be here, so fully here, where nothing else is pulling the attention but the fire in the heart. That magnetic pull that is calling, that you do not know how to satiate. And so you can only be here now. Be here now in the openness, the freedom, the simplicity of just being. So the mind could say, well, it doesn't really feel like a fire. It's just maybe like a little spark. But it's not about the mind trying to qualify whether the fire is bright enough. It is just to come to the felt sense of what is longed for, the felt sense that there is something calling, something that is compelling, something that is alive and true, and that the recognition of this is beyond the mind's understanding. It is unfathomable because it is the unknown, it is the mystery. It is that which cannot be known by the mind. It is the knowledge of the self that is pure and simple and can only be known by the self itself. This knowing is not a doing, it is not an experience that comes and goes. It is the eternal truth. And this is why to follow the fire of the heart is to be lured into the eternal, timeless nature, because this fire is the eternal flame that is true and pure and whole and so wildly alive with its own fullness. could say that if there is any sense of a path or a journey, it is only to follow your knowing. But it is not a map or a journey that the mind can be satisfied with, because it's not a step by step. It's not a map where you can take a look and say, well, I'm going to take this route and I'm going to get here at this time. It's coming to the now, feeling yourself here now, feeling the felt sense of presence, and not looking to qualify, evaluate, or understand what this is or how this is. Not looking with the mind to try to find your bearings in the timeless freedom of the infinite reality. You cannot find your bearings here. And yet the ground of being is the deepest, most profound ground of presence. But it is not a ground that is located in the body or in a place. It is a ground of being that is the knowing of your own simple presence. And the knowing of your own simple presence is a depth of ground that is reliable, safe, trustworthy, simple and pure, because it is always here, always here. This is forever. To know yourself is forever. It is to dissolve into, we could say, relationship with yourself that brings a remembering of who you are, where all relationship dissolves into just being. When you know only the self, there is no longer relationship, because there is only one. It is not two remembering its oneness. It is one remembering that there has never been two. This is really important. There never has been two. There never has been 3 or 4 or 5, right? There only ever has been one. There never have been 7 billion, however many seeming human beings there are on this planet Earth. There has only ever been one, and you have only ever been that one, and you are that one here now. So when we speak the simplicity to come to the here now, to feel yourself here now, to feel your simple existence, to be here, to meet in the oneness, in the sameness, to feel yourself here now, to recognize the simplicity of your own presence, your own existence, without trying to make any sense of it. The felt sense of presence is alive with its own knowing. It is presence that recognizes its own presence. And there is no one here, no one individual that is recognizing. It is the presence itself, the part of you that you have never left, that you have always known, the part of you that is calling to the seeming disparate parts of yourself, calling to the seeming orphaned, exiled parts of yourself. Come home, come home. You never have been away from yourself. The light is always on. Love is always here. There is always truth, alive. And it is burning, burning like a blazing fire as the heart. It is just to follow your longing like a trail of breadcrumbs into the felt sense of your own heart that is alive. It doesn't know what it wants. The mind tries to translate, interpret oh, what I want is that. That will bring me fulfillment, right? It spends a life trying to find fulfillment in things and people and relationships, objects, experiences, thrills, right? But this part of you knows the eternal, timeless nature of the being that you are, knows that there will never be a wholeness and a fulfillment in things. And so as the fire blazes, it calls you to leave the house of personhood, to leave the house that you have thought is who you are. Leave the house that is on fire and just fall into the blazing flames of your true longing. We could say that you fall into the ultimate principle of desire. Can have the idea that we do not want to go towards desire, but when the only desire is left is for God, is for yourself, then it is just to burn in the fire of the simple ultimate principle of desire. Fall all the way in, because if this is the only desire that is left, then it does not matter. It does not matter if you burn, because you are burning in the embrace of what you are longing for. You are burning in the embrace of that which is the ultimate principle behind all interpretation of desire. You are burning into the embrace that is the remembering of who you truly are. All seeming devotion and worship, all prostration is ultimately the ultimate surrender of letting go into yourself, letting go into God, into love, into the unfathomable divine wholeness that is the mother. Does not matter which words resonate and which ones don't. Do not be distracted by attempts of the mind to interpret, or being distracted because, oh, that doesn't resonate. Because we use different words in order to bring alive different qualities of resonance. Some of the resonances will feel like a clear bell of recognition, and some of the resonances will bring stirrings that could cause distraction. But be so aware and still in your own presence that you can see the possibility of following an attempt of the mind to pull you into something that is not real and true. Do not go back into the burning house of the personhood to collect anything. Let it burn, right? Golden rule. Once you have left the burning house, do not go back in. Do not go back in. I just need to get, no, not even the cat. The cat will find its way out, right? Do not go back into the house. Once you have left the burning house of personhood, of the me, of the story, stay resting and watch it burn. This is the challenge, to watch it burn, because the burning can feel so uncomfortable. But are you in truth burning? No, you discover that that burning, that longing, leads to a recognition of the light, the incredible radiance of the heart, that you move through the sense of burning and you find yourself resting in the radiance of the illuminated heart that is your true nature. The self shining as itself, effulgent, radiant, luminous, wholeness. And you realize that everything that has burnt, it was not needed. It was not needed. That you are here as yourself in the simplicity, in the wholeness of being. And this moment here now is that fullness that has been longed for and sought for in the play of the world. But until we know this deep truth as our own essence being, our own nature, then we will continue to be fooled by the world. When we know this truth, the whole perspective shifts so that we see the world from the perspective of being the wide, infinite, open field that knows itself. Yes, of course, there is a process of refinement, a process of coming into deeper and deeper remembering of unity. And this will feel like a going backwards and forwards. But once you have a taste of the knowing, it is your duty to stay with the knowing and do not fully enter back into that burning house. There is a Sanskrit word that says prajna, parada, which is the crime against wisdom, the crime against your knowing, ignoring your knowing. That when you have this knowing in place, when you know the truth of who you are, that there is a term, and it is considered that all dis-ease, all illness, all suffering of the body, mind, on the surface of life is created out of this crime against wisdom, this perpetual crime against the wisdom, crime against the intelligence, right? The ignoring of your knowing, the ignoring of who you truly are. So it's not then for the mind to say, how did I do this? I made a mistake, I'm wrong. That's another thread of distraction. That is another thread. It is to recognize that once you are graced with a quality of knowing, it is your duty to stay with your knowing. Yes, life lives itself out, but it is to stay with the quality of your knowing and recognize. We can all recognize crimes against wisdom, right? We all recognize the big and the small ways that we just follow this. We just eat that, right? And there's a consequence. We enter into the cycle of cause and effect. We enter into the realm where there's a mind seemingly doing and controlling. So it is to be aware that when you leave your knowing, when you leave yourself, how the consciousness, how the wisdom will work is that it will create situations to reflect back to you your blind spots, to reflect back where there was a possibility that this crime happened, right? So the light of aware being shines upon where some kind of conditioning or vasana can pull the attention into individuality, where you turn against the deepest knowing of the heart. Crime against wisdom, it sounds so serious, but that is the way that it is translated in the from the Vedic texts. But we recognize the essence of what this is. We all recognize the essence of what this is. It is not to play in the field of the mind telling itself that it is wrong or guilt or shame. All of this is a total waste of time. It's a total distraction because there's no one doing the crimes against wisdom. We could say there's no one separate that is committing the crimes. It is the movement of consciousness. And when such an occurrence comes to the surface, the consciousness is just creating the exact situation for the aware being, for you to be resting in the knowing as the aware being and shine the light upon the situation, upon the blind spot, in order to receive, be humbled, and to come into a deeper quality of knowing. There is magic happening. The whole mechanistic working of consciousness, the field of intelligence that is the wisdom, it is magic. It is not a magic that is rare. It is a constant dance of magic. It's a magic show, we could say, on the surface of life. So it is to be here now. Feel the simplicity of your own existence. Sometimes this will feel like a deep silence, a deep and rich silent presence. The silence itself has such a magnetic draw because it's such a sanctuary, so profound to feel the silence. But the silence is also alive. It is alive with its own knowing. Let us say that sometimes the silence will feel more dominant. Sometimes the aliveness will feel more dominant and recognizable. It does not matter. It is just to be with what is your direct experience of being, your direct experience of presence, of simple presence. It is not complicated. It is so incredibly simple that the mind cannot even fathom the simplicity, because the mind is a complex function. The invitation to be here is a deep relaxation where the mind quietens. The mind quietens into the felt presence of simply being here. You feel yourself here now. You feel your existence. Are you here? Yes. You confirm your simple existence. You say yes. Where do you go to say yes to knowing your own simple existence? What happens when your own presence says yes to recognizing itself? Feel the subtlety of this. Are you here? Yes. How do you know? Become so intimate with the subtlety of recognizing your own presence. Become so intimate with the subtlety of the felt sense of just being here. Can you feel that this felt sense of being is not inside the body? It is not of the person, that the felt sense of presence is everywhere? The felt sense of presence is nowhere. The felt sense of presence just is. Does not have a location. Is not defined in any way. It just is. Can you notice that you know this presence because you are the presence? You are the presence that is without limit, that is spacious, expansive, unbounded. Can you recognize that there is a quality of knowing here where the being recognizes itself just simply being here? As you feel this simple, deep, silent presence, is there mind here? Is there story here? Is there anything here other than presence itself? Confirm in your direct experience. Confirm in the heart of being, here now. Recognize there is nothing to believe or understand, that the direct experience of being is so incredibly simple, and the knowing is because you are it. You are the simplicity of being. You are the presence that is silent and open and free, without story, without name, without judgment or opinion. You are before the first thought arises. You are before everything. You are before sense perception. You are just here, just simply being. Just simply being yourself. The stillness, the silence, the simplicity of just being, being the presence of being. Can feel how, as awareness becomes aware of its own presence of being, there is an aliveness. The aliveness is the knowing. So it is to recognize and feel this. Can feel that you are here as the presence. Where is this knowing? The knowing is the felt sense of being, the being. Awareness, aware of just being here. It's not a doing, it's simple being. There is nothing to do here. It is not about following instructions. The pointing is timeless. It is immediate. It is now. You are not looking with your mind for something. The presence is so present that the immediacy is right here now. So as the words come, they are the silence, the expression of silence dancing. As the words come, the pointing is immediate. It's not to make a mental note, not to go searching, not to try to understand, not to create an instruction, but to be in the immediacy of now is to receive the pointing to yourself and to meet in the oneness of being, the one being, where we are the same, where we are wholeness, where we are silent being, being that is the self, the true self, whole self, the self that just is. The silence that is still presence, the silence that is dynamically alive and flowing with its own knowing. It's all one silence. Does not matter how you meet the silence. It is to meet the silence as yourself. Dissolve into the silence. Be one with the silence. Recognize what is true, that you have never ever been separate from the silence. You are the silence of being. You are the stillness, the simplicity, the infinite, unbounded field that just is. Freedom itself, simply being free. You are everywhere. You are nowhere. You are timeless, eternal. This moment now. This moment now is who you are. So to feel the resonance of truth, to feel the resonance of truth just as it is, to feel the resonance of truth just as it is, to feel the simple resonance of truth as you directly experience yourself, as you directly experience yourself. Where there is nothing to believe or understand, it is the simple direct knowing of who you are. Simply being. deeper and deeper into yourself. Can only be here. You cannot force any kind of journey. You cannot move from here because you are the stillness. Can just be here. Be here as the openness. Be here as the equanimity that is simple and pure and immaculate, just being. Be here just being yourself. As you feel the aliveness of the knowing, this is pure knowing, pure knowledge, the self knowing itself. And the knowing has an aliveness. The aliveness is the start of the flow of bliss. The more you rest with this alive knowing, the more bliss will flow. The more you drink in the flowing bliss of your own nature, the more will be revealed in this moment here now, in the vast open field of intelligence. You cannot look for it. You cannot try. Cannot do anything. Can only be here and receive the grace. It is to be here now, as if you are here on your knees, as if you are standing in this burning fire, so compelled to be only here and nowhere other than here. It is to be here now in pure, simple devotion to yourself and to yourself only. To be here in pure and simple devotion to yourself. To be in utter surrender, utter submission to the unfathomable wholeness that just is. By feeling the aliveness of your knowing. The aliveness of your knowing is the connection to the supreme totality. It is the connection to the Mother, to God, to the divine. Your knowing is the light, the love, the purity of your true nature. So to touch and feel and taste in your direct experience of being, this depth of connection is where the opening happens to more and more. It's where the fire gets brighter and brighter and more blazing, more and more compelling, because you are touching your true nature, and your true nature is calling you, drawing you in, drawing you, alluring in the most divine, illuminated way. So it is to be here so fully. As the words come, you receive the resonance where you recognize in direct experience, where the pointing is an immediate seeing. You do not hang on to the words. Just let the words flow as if it is like classical music, and you are just receiving the resonant transmission of silence. Nothing to try for, nothing to do, just receiving the flow. And where a pointing lands as a seeing, then be here. If it flows by and it doesn't resonate, let it be gone. It's not here now. If it's not here now, it's not here now. Only be with what is alive here now, because what is alive here now is yourself. And it is to be here so fresh and awake and innocent and open, so receptive, so free and clear right here now. The true nature is open, receptive, clear. It is the part, we could say, that has been forgotten and overlooked. We know very well the part that plays on the surface of life. It is an aspect of the divine, of course, it is an aspect of wholeness, but we have spent so long focusing upon this aspect that it has become ingrained as if a part is as good as it gets, let's say, right? We believe the reality that is just a part of the wholeness, but that part is never apart from wholeness. It is just the perspective of seeing that creates a sense of parts, but the seeming parts are never apart from each other. So the invitation of this moment is to meet and be the being where you recognize the value of your wholeness, that you can taste. You can recognize the value of your wholeness. You can taste it as your knowing. And it is here that clearer and clearer perspectives are flowing by the will, we could say, of the divine. When there is a readiness, as there is a readiness, clearer and clearer seeing comes in. The part that has been overlooked is the part that knows this truth. And to come to your knowing is to acknowledge the part that has always been free. To acknowledge the part that is infinite, unbounded awakeness. That this part of you is ever awake, ever fresh, ever clear and true. And you have never ever left this truth. You have never ever left this part. It is just that the perspective of seeing has been conditioned and limited. And as we open here now to this felt sense of being, we come to recognize that this part has always been here. This part of you knows freedom is who you are. This is why a seeker is ever even born. It's because you already know. You already know. So these words come to fan the flames of your knowing, so that you can feel the wild fire of the true heart blazing inside you. You can feel the wild fire of true ultimate desire that longs only for the self, longs only for God, longs only to know the wholeness that you are, all the way through. So you follow your longing. You follow your longing, and here you are, and your longing is recognized as your knowing. It's recognized as a quality of knowing. And then knowing flows in devotion to itself. It flows in perpetual surrender to itself. Just falling into itself, into itself, into itself. Longing only for itself. And you see there is no one here that is saying, I want that. It is just the longing of your heart that is blazing wildly alive, that is just falling into itself, into itself, into itself. Longing for God, for love, for mother, for truth, for wholeness. Falling into itself, into itself, into itself. It is your own heart. And that felt sense of falling into yourself, into yourself, into yourself, is falling in love, in love, in love, in love with love itself, surrendering into love, surrendering into love, saying yes and yes and yes, without knowing what you are saying yes to, taking that risk to burn, burn in the fire of this love, burn, burn in the fire, where to risk losing everything the mind thinks is important is known to be a risk you want to take, a risk you have been waiting your whole life to be invited into. You have been waiting your whole life to be invited into the fire of your very own heart. You have been waiting to come into a depth of your longing, to feel the ultimate desire, the desire for yourself, the desire to remember, the desire to be yourself, the desire for love that never leaves, the desire for joy that is causeless, happy freedom, the desire to be the peace that is undisturbable in eternity, peace forever, love forever, joy forever, truth forever. This is the great longing of every heart. And these words are just an invitation to uncover the jungle of your seemingly personal desires. Uncover, bushwhack through the jungle of what the me thinks that they want, and discover the root desire, the root longing is only ever a longing for yourself, only ever a longing to burn in the embrace, in the fire of love. It's all that is ever longed for, to be humbled into the dust of pure, clear knowing of yourself, to be humbled into the dust where the dust is just light resonating and dancing as the pure, incredible, divine power of love, of love, of love, without condition, without threads of entanglement, love that is golden, golden and luminous, the love that is mother, the love that is divine mother, God. It's all that is ever longed for. Have been waiting the whole life to know yourself, to know God, to know this truth as who you are, that you are this truth. You have never ever been away from this truth, that you are the living answer to every question that you have ever pondered. Because at the root of every question is this longing, is this longing. Every question at its root is asking, who am I? Who am I in truth? What is this I in truth? Every question, even the most mundane question, is longing to know this simple truth. The sun, the fire, the blazing, blazing fire of the heart. The sun that is the light that is never dimmed, never diminished, never touched or tainted in any way. No story has ever touched this eternal sunshine of the heart. No story, no weather pattern has ever touched or diminished the eternal sunshine of the true heart. The sun, the fire, the radiance, the luminous effulgence, it's all the same. Words are just this truth dancing. And as these words come, it is this truth kissing you like a gentle, soft kiss of your very own self. The luminous, warm embrace of your true divine wholeness, inviting you this way, this way. The door is always open. You have always been free. The light that is shining is effulgence, ever beaming, luminous. And it is just to be here now. Come to the knowing of being the being and allow grace to carry you. Allow the wind of grace to carry you, to carry you, to carry you. Feel the divine invitation to finally lay down the burden. Let it all burn. Let it all burn. And realize that the deep principle underneath the blazing fire is the divine light, which is the radiance of the heart, which is the self, which is the truth of who you are. It is clear light shining, clear light shining. The clear light is your own purity, your own innocence, your own immaculate nature. Ever free, ever clear, ever pure, ever true. Eternally, forever yourself. Mm. Mm. Resting in the knowing, give love a chance to swallow you whole. Give love a chance to devour you in the holy fire of your own longing. Resting here now, give love a chance to devour you. Mm. to be here now, singing your song of devotion as silence, silent being that just is. Mm. Mm.